Hi, friends. Sorry I'm a minute late. I got a call from my kid's school, and then I got nervous that something was wrong. You know, you always get that call from your kid's school and wonder who's in the nurse's office, who needs to be picked up. But all is good. So I'm going to share this out, and I'm going to ask you guys if you can also share this out. Welcome to Meditation Mondays, week 4. We are already on week 4. We only have a couple left, my friends. And today we are going to be exploring and practicing mudras. All right. So as you know, if you have watched before, I can't figure out how to share this out. See how I am? If you guys share this out, then your name will be entered into a drawing for a free Akashic Records session. So I'm going to do the drawing now in a second after I share this out. So if you guys can do the same, I would appreciate it. And also some likes and hearts would be much appreciated. I'm going to keep my phone next to me because, as you know, sometimes I get bumped with the comments. Hey, Marla, how are you, honey? Happy Monday. All right, drawing time. Watch, Marla. You are like the queen of winning free sessions. So you and I just did ours. Watch you get another one. You're going to be sick of me by the time this is done, right? All right, I'm not going to look. I'm going to be fair here. Tony Roke. Good. I want to meet you. Tony, you deserve it. You literally shared this out to, like, I don't know, more than 20 groups or something last time. So you so deserve this. You put your work in, man. I'll send you a private message and tag you as well, just if you don't show up today, if you can't make it. So, all right, guys. So last week we worked on, thanks, Mar. Last week we worked on mantras. So let me know if any of you guys have practiced any mantras this week or found your own. So last week we worked on the mantras that are associated with all the different chakras. So the chakras, you can kind of determine which ones might not be balanced for you, or an area where you might want some release, and choose whichever mantra you needed to practice for those chakras. Or I think I had given you guys some guidance as well last week on picking your own mantras. And I had shared that less is more was one of mine for a while. So let me know if you have any that you've tried, or if you have any questions on mantras. So today we're going to be talking about touch. So I am going to eventually get to mudras, but I'm going to give you a little bit of info about touch before I get there. All right. So as you all probably know, we have a lot of nerve endings all over our bodies, right? And these receptors that are in our fingers and our toes and all areas of our skin send signals to our brain and to the different organs and systems in the body, right? But mainly to our brain, because that obviously regulates everything else. So yoga, this is why, one of the reasons why yoga is so effective is because when we put ourselves into different poses, it creates an energy circuit in our body that sends more targeted and magnified signals to our brains, okay? It's the same thing that if I bump into the wall, which happens a lot, if I bump into the wall and I hurt my shoulder or my arm, that I'm gonna go like this, right? So if you offer a positive stimulus to a painful sensation, you're going to soothe that area, okay? And that's going to send the message to your brain, and it kind of alters the pain reception. So I think we can all agree that touch is something that is sending signals to our brain and activating our system in a certain way, okay? So as you guys know, I like to use my body to prep for meditation and to just gain more clarity and more centering during meditation. So one of the ways we can do this is using our tongues, okay? None of you get dirty on me out there, all right? I'm gonna give you a couple suggestions on tongue placement during meditation. So there's different, I can't think of the word, theories, I guess, as to where you should put your tongue during meditation. So one of the theories is that you put your tongue, the tip of your tongue, if you can feel behind the top of your teeth, you're going to feel that there's like a little ridge, and then it starts to go in, it starts to kind of dip and arc upward. So one theory is that you put the tip of your tongue right there during meditation, okay? Not just behind your teeth, but beyond that ridge, right when it starts to kind of turn up, and that you hold it there during meditation. The idea of putting our tongue in a specific spot is that it quiets our thoughts more because we are setting an intention of where our tongue is. And the other spot for the tongue, which I think is highly difficult and distracting, although super meditators might be all on board with it, is to put your tongue way back, all the way to the back of your mouth to where it starts to get soft. Like way back where it starts to get soft. So it's curling all the way back. That one actually activates more receptors in the brain. So it tends to be the most effective, according to the theorists that follow the placement of the tongue. So the issue with tongue placement is that when you set an intention and you're putting your tongue in a specific spot, I'm looking at my notes here. Oh, right. It activates the sympathetic nervous system, so there's less saliva actually produced, okay? And people like this because they don't have to swallow a lot, which can distract them when they're meditating, all right? But we don't want to activate the sympathetic nervous system. That's why I don't like to use it. Sometimes my tongue will naturally go there, especially if I'm feeling like agitated or angry or, activated in one way or the other. It'll naturally go there, and I'm almost like squeezing that energy out, that negative energy. And so I can see why it would make sense to place your tongue in a certain location and then kind of ease into a more relaxed tongue during meditation over the course of the session. But keeping it there, I feel like almost enhances and riles up that energy. And that's one of the things that I was reading about when I was doing my research for this live. And I think that I've settled on the relaxed tongue being a better option for meditation. And the reason is, one, when you have a relaxed tongue, you're not clenching your jaw, right? Whereas you're holding your jaw a little bit more rigidly if you're putting your tongue in a very specific spot. And you're going to get more saliva, so there's going to be more swallowing, which is going to depend on the person, whether or not they can tolerate that. But there's more health benefits to having your parasympathetic nervous system activated during meditation. We want to be in a relaxed state. We want to be kind of chilled out, So I think that the majority of our meditation practice should have a relaxed tongue. All right. So, but if you want to start with that one on the top to kind of squeeze out that extra energy, go for it. All right. So you guys do whatever you want with your tongues. I just wanted to mention that because I think it's an important piece of touch, right? When we're addressing touch. Okay. So the other things that I mentioned, I'm only going to mention them briefly because I talked about them last week and the week before, I think too, is you can always hold crystals when you're meditating as well. I like to have my black tourmaline in my left hand and my selenite in my right hand. So that's obviously the sense of touch. And using your mala beads, which I have on my wrist today, but I showed you how to use those last week. So you can use your mala beads too for touch. But when we're looking at mudras, which is what we're going to do today, I love mudras. You can't hold on to stuff because you need your hands, right? One of the things that I like about mudras, the way I like to think about them, is basically like a yoga pose in your hands, right? Because you're creating a seal. The word mudra means seal or gesture or symbol, okay? So the most classic mudra you've all probably heard of or seen is this one, right? You see these yogis sitting in their lotus position like Om, right? So that's the most classic one. And we're going to do that one today. But it provides a closed energy circuit, all right? Whereas if you're on other poses, like in yoga, you might not necessarily have a closed energy circuit. You do have an energy circuit you're creating with your body, but not necessarily closed. But with mudras, they're closed, right? So what happens is, depending on where you put your fingers, you are activating certain acupressure points in your fingers, which if you know anything about reflexology, it's sending messages to our organs, to our brain, right? And creating health benefits just from those certain pressure points that we're activating. But it also, like if you envision this, I can't hold my hands the right way. If you envision this with the air kind of coming in as you're breathing, because you want to breathe consistently with your mudras, you're creating a closed energy circuit. So if as the breath keeps moving, it starts to generate momentum, and it really amplifies that signal to shoot it, kind of send it to your brain, right? It really amplifies that meditative experience. Sometimes I'm drawn to using mudras and sometimes I'm not. But I have to say, as you guys know, I like to combine as many modalities as possible. Not to the point where I overwhelm myself and I can't focus, but to the point where I can focus. So for me, I love to put mudras together with the mantras, right? The more that you put together, well, the more that I put together, the better that I can focus, okay? So that's why I love putting all these different senses together and teaching you guys about meditation, because you can kind of mix and match whatever combo feels right to you and really maximizes the benefit that you get, okay? So, all right, so there are mudras for all of your different chakras. I'm not gonna teach you all of them today. Not only do we not have time for that, but you guys are not going to remember all of those mudras. So I'm just going to give you some, okay? Particularly for the lower chakras, I just feel very intuitively drawn to that. And I think it's because partly it's Monday and I want to help people ground and concentrate and focus and reduce tension as they start their week, right? So I'm doing you guys a favor today. All right, I'm just going to give you a brief reminder of what a chakra is, all right? The word chakra means wheel, and there we go. I'm figuring out this camera over time. The word chakra means wheel. There are 7 main chakras, although there's over 114 chakras in our body, which are energy centers, areas that filter, store, and transmit energy. These are the large ones, okay? These are the big suckers that we all tend to focus on, all right, when we do our chakra work. So we are today, there we go, it's going to focus on the root chakra, the sacral, and the solar plexus. These are the grounding chakras. I keep going the wrong direction. So you can also keep in mind when we do these to visualize the color of the chakra, which I can remind you of. And I will also remind you of the mantras that we used last week while we are practicing some of these mudras, okay? So, all right. Hey, Anise, see, it came up on my phone. Oh, it did come up on my computer. Good. I feel like my comments might be turning the corner here, friends. All right. The last thing I want to tell you before we get into mudras, I don't want to overwhelm you, but I think this is such an exciting part of mudras. It makes me so happy. I have this fabulous card deck called Mudras for Awakening the Energy Body. Okay? And this book has a little chart in it that clearly highlights that our fingers are assigned to different elements, okay? Thumb is fire, index is air, middle is space, which is like the ether, the Akash. The ring finger is earth, and the pinky is water, okay? They've also in this book, not just in this book, but I'm referencing them appropriately to give credit where credit is due, that they've associated these elements also with our different senses, okay? So the earth is related to smell, water is taste, fire is sight, air is touch, and space is hearing. And this is like, this is my thing, right? I mean, you guys know that I love grounding the 5 senses, using our bodies as tools, using our senses as tools to amplify our meditation practice, amplify our spiritual experience, right? Using our bodies as messages and tools. So I think this is so cool because you know that the mudras that I picked for today and that ended up just intuitively coming to me today end up incorporating more senses rather than less senses, because my belief is that the more that we incorporate, the more effect we get, okay? So we are going to start mudraing. I just made that up. All right. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the first mudra because it's the classic, they call Gyan mudra. Please tell me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, my friends. I did not look up pronunciations before I got on here. But this one is for the root chakra, okay? This is to reduce tension, reduce depression, and help concentration. It uses these 2 fingers, your index finger, which is air, the air element, and the element of touch, and the thumb, which is the fire element, the element of sight. So we're putting touch and sight together today. And you're going to keep these other 3 fingers together and extended. All right. This balances the root chakra. So when you hold it, you really want to hold it in your lap, right? Or closer to your root chakra is fine. But remember, that's at the base of your spine. It's red color. And the mantra we recite for this chakra is LAM, L-A-M, but pronounced L-U-M. Okay. So I want you guys to hold your hands in this mudra. Now, the idea is that you're supposed to hold these mudras for 5 breaths for their level of effectiveness. The research actually recommends that we hold mudras throughout the day. We kind of switch them up and use different ones throughout the day, and that we have a total practice of at least 15 minutes a day of holding mudras, right? To get that kind of reflexology, acupressure effect, okay? So we're gonna start by taking 5 breaths. If you guys wanna chant with it, chant LAM, go ahead. I actually don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm gonna take some breaths. I'm gonna hold my mudra. I'm just gonna go with what comes, okay? Because I'm all about trusting my intuition today, my friends, all right? So, does anybody have any questions about how to hold this mudra? This is your basic one, root chakra. I'm gonna put them in my lap. Take a few deep breaths. We're gonna hold this for 5 breaths. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out. You can go in through your nose and out through your mouth, or any mixture of the above. And you're welcome to chant LAM if you want to. Let's do it, friends. Don't forget to tuck that tailbone and tip your chin down a bit to straighten that spine if you want the prana to flow straight up and down. Provide a nice channel for that prana. You can use the Ujjayi breath that we used in sound when we did the Meditation Mondays on sound, where you sound like Darth Vader. Okay, I talked through one of my breaths. So that was 5 breaths. All right, so that was that mudra. Again, I'm not choosing to spend a ton of time on that one because it is pretty basic. All right, then the other mudra that I just picked because I love it and because it's Monday and I want you guys to have energy, and this is an energizing mudra. It's called the prana mudra. It's also a root chakra mudra, okay? This one, not peace, put your fingers together, is your pinky, which is water element and taste, your ring finger, which is earth and smell, and your thumb, which is fire and sight, okay? Put those together, and then you're gonna put your fingers here. Again, this is a root chakra mudra. What I like to do when you have any kind of mudra that is part of the lower 3 chakras and you have any pointies going on with your fingers is I like to point them down. For me, that feels grounding. It feels like I'm sending my energy into the ground. And it really just makes me feel like I'm more stabilized and kind of standing taller. So you guys can hold it in your lap like the other one if you'd like, but I prefer to kind of hold them down, okay? So we're gonna take 5 breaths. And again, the mantra with this is LAM if you guys want to recite a mantra with this mudra. I'll show you one more time. Pinky, ring, and thumb together, fingers up. And you can point this down if you want or just leave it in your lap. Okay, 5 breaths, friends, let's go. And you can put as much pressure on your fingers as you'd like with these acupressure points, depending on how you're feeling or how much release you need. As rigidly or relaxed as you would like. Remember, you're creating a circuit with your fingers, an energy circuit. Direct your prana to that circuit. I like that one. My fingers were kind of tingly on that one. So, of course, you know I love that one because, yes, it provides energy, but it also helps our body resist disease. And It reduces hunger pangs as well, which just an interesting note. All right, so in my fabulous Mudra deck that I showed you guys the book for, I pulled a card for us right before I went live. And what was really interesting was I was very drawn to wanting to pick a sacral chakra mudra. And what came up but a sacral chakra, sacral chakra mudra. All right. And what I also love about this one is it incorporates all the same fingers that we used in the last one. Perfect. So all the elements are right there. We got nice 3 elements and 3 senses that are incorporated into this mudra. Okay, I'm going to hold it a little closer for you guys so you can see. It's called the Mira Mudra. You're going to put your pinky and your thumbs together, and then you're going to, well, okay, so on each hand, you're going to put your pinky and thumb together. Then you're going to have them meet in the middle. And then you're going to have your ring fingers extended and touching in the air while your other 2 fingers are just simply free in the air. Okay? As you can see, this is related to nourishment. And the focus here, I'm actually going to type this in so you guys can read it, is an affirmation. My natural breath flows in calm and nourishing waves. Again, I think this is a great one to start our week because it's helping us focus on the breath and keeping our energy up and keeping our breath moving. All right. So we're going to try this one. Just showing you for a reminder, put your hands in this position. We're going to do 5 breaths. And remember that the mantra for the sacral chakra is VAM, V-A-M, or pronounced VUM, V-U-M, okay? So now I have to get this down. Okay, and you're supposed to put this right below your navel, okay? So if I stand up, you guys can see, like right below your navel, okay? My index fingers were touching there. Bad girl. Okay. All right, so let's take our 5 breaths and you can chant VAM if you would like. Ready? VAM. Okay, as you can tell, I need some sacral chakra work today because I vommed on that one. All right. And now, the last one I have for you guys today is a mudra for our solar plexus chakra. Our solar plexus chakra is yellow in color, located above our belly buttons and lower than our heart space. So in that space in between. And this one, these mudras that are for the solar plexus help in digestion and circulation. And that center for the solar plexus is really about will, self-esteem, our power center, things like that. And I'll remind you that the sacral chakra that we just did is for belonging, sensuality, creativity center. Okay, so our mudra for the solar plexus, I don't know how to pronounce this. It's called the Matangi mudra, I believe. This is actually one of my favorites. I use this all the time. All the time. And I point my fingers down. So you're basically gonna make, you're just gonna go like this, okay? Except on this side, you're gonna join your fingers. You're gonna join your thumb and your index. And I think one of the reasons I like this one a lot is because it incorporates all of your fingers. So all of the elements, all of the senses, okay? And then you're gonna put your middle fingers up like this. You keep everything else down. These are going to be in a circuit, right? A closed circuit. Fingers up. You're going to put it at a little above your navel, under your heart chakra, pointing down. All right. We can take some breaths with this one. And if you want to, you can recite the mantra RAM, R-A-M. Okay. That was my most powerful one from last week, I remember. So, all right, let's take 5 breaths in, guys. 5 breaths. You can chant or not, up to you. Remember, this is a yellow color. If you need to focus on the yellow color, you can say I am power if you need to. Tucking the tailbone, lowering the chin to straighten the spine. And we're going to do one more breath with this mudra. Okay, you can come back, release that mudra. Let me know if you guys have any questions or experiences that you want to share that came up during using the mudras or sitting for 5 breaths. I think 5 breaths is a long time. I mean, especially when you're starting out to meditate, but that's supposed to be the most heightened effect, right? So, all right. The last thing I have to tell you guys, next week, we are either going to use mantras again for automatic writing meditation. Okay, we're going to do a writing meditation, or I'm going to do walking meditation. It's really going to depend on the weather, to be honest with you. I'm really drawn to doing the writing more just because we have done a lot of mantra work over the past couple weeks, and I want to make sure that we kind of keep the continuity with that. But we'll see, because I also want to keep an eye on the weather. So, and I do use mantra in my walking meditation. So if you guys have a preference either way, please let me know. I'm happy to get suggestions if you want to dive into one or the other before or on our second to last class. So also the other thing I want to say is that I just posted journal prompts in the meditation circle. That event starts on Sunday and it's at 8 p.m. over Zoom. And I have a lengthy post about it pinned to the top of my page so you can read more details about what the meditation circle is. The journal prompts have gone out. So if you guys have not signed up, now would be the time. You can either private message me or you can send $30 to PayPal and I will reach out to you and get you added to the meditation circle closed group within my community. And there you can get extra supports, and we are working on enhancing our intuition with the journaling prompts so that the meditation circle can be as, I guess, amplified and effective as possible. So let me know if you have questions. Next week, meet me here, Monday, noon Eastern Standard Time, and share this out. Give me some likes and loves. And if you share it, your name will go into the bowl so that you can win an Akashic Records session next week. All right. I love connecting with you guys. And thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful week. All right. Bye-bye.